Nice jacket. We're just getting people to kind of like get cozy. Make up for all the...
This is a little weird. I feel like we're too high.
We just got them to change the stage to make it higher, and now Danu's like, we're too high.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for making us feel better.
So we'll kick off, I guess. I'm Elena, the marketing manager at Rush, and thank you all for being here for starters. Despite the date change, despite COVID, all three of us were actually sick over the course of the last week, and so brain fog notwithstanding, we might be a little bit bumpy, but surely to be entertaining. When we concepted this Tech You Should Care About event, I was so excited because shit you should care about, I'm a long-time fan and follower. Danu and Luce to me just seemed like a perfect pairing of really, really funny wit, really, really clever, absolutely hilarious, and super opinionated, no holding back. So if you managed to catch the video that we made of the COVID chat that we had, you'll probably have seen that evidence already. I'm going to fire a couple of questions at them to get them going, and we're just going to see where this discussion goes. Yeah, so maybe I'll stop talking for a second. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? I will catch my breath.
Hi, everybody, and thank you for coming to this funny event, Tech You Should Care About. I was actually here doing a speaking thing at lunchtime, and someone came up to me and was like, just want to let you know that someone's using something really similar to shit you should care about for their event. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I'm at it. I am speaking at it. They are not just copywriting us. I'm Luce. I've just had COVID, as has Danu, as has Elena, so forgive any coughing. I'm fully negative now, so don't worry. I run something called Shit You Should Care About with my two best friends, Ruby and Liv. If you read the daily newsletter, or you know what our Instagram is, or you listen to either of our podcasts, then you probably recognize my voice, or maybe you recognize my writing voice. I talk the exact same as I write, so you hear this pretty much every day. And I'm excited to be here with Danu, to be talking shit with you all. Please, if you have any questions or want to know our thoughts or feelings on anything, I feel like this can be quite informal. You can maybe put your hand up, or I don't know, Elena, is that fine?
Yeah, we can do a bit of a roving mic. I mean, we're not big enough to have to shout across the room, so...
Yeah, it feels weird to use the microphone anyway, but no, it's nice and clear. So thanks for that wonderful intro, Luce. I'm Danu. I'm the CTO and founder of Rush, and yeah, I'm very opinionated tech person, and I always sort of describe myself as a really capable engineer who hates technology, which makes me really I don't know, value really good experiences, because I don't know about you guys, but I just hate it when shit doesn't work like it's supposed to. So when I use technology, I love it. I'll only stick with it if it works really, really well. And if it doesn't, I'll just go to pen and paper. So I'm probably the only CTO in the room with a pen and paper instead of a tablet or a laptop. I mean, I'm really clammy as well, so touchscreens and I don't go well together. But yeah, so you've just learned something interesting about me.
We're going to get vulnerable here. You probably all know, but I didn't know until I met Danu that Rush built the COVID Tracer app. So that's legit. That's cool. So a lot of the time, Danu will really know the answer to some questions, and I will be there asking the questions that you're probably all thinking with the real technical stuff, because...
But Luce knows stuff about stuff as well.
Stuff about stuff.
Yeah. So I guess we could kind of kick into it then. We asked for a couple of questions from people, like, what do you want to hear about? What would be interesting? What would be a valuable topic? And Alex sent us through a really good question about what effect do you think, I forget it verbatim, but what effect do you think technology has had on our neural pathways, on our brains as humans? Basically, are we changing? And if you watch the video, you'll see that we ended up as webbed people with webbed hands and feet that were just going to have opposable thumbs in the future. But the conversation went on a lot of different varying tangents. We had to cut out some interesting political stuff, but we thought this was a really great topic to continue with live. And so I want to throw it to Luce and Danu first, thinking about technology. What app or digital product has had the biggest impact on your life so far? For better or worse, or both?
My one's quite obvious, because we, in 2018 started posting information on Instagram, which was how we got a few million followers on Instagram. And so now we have a daily newsletter, 2 podcasts, and a web series, and this big social media following. So I feel like I would be lying if I didn't say that Instagram definitely had the biggest impact on my life. It's not my favorite app to use. I definitely have a lot of like gripes. Like you can't get all the context for everything and every world event in 10 slides. So I wouldn't say that Instagram's my favorite app. But if we're talking about life changing, I do now have a business that wouldn't be here if it weren't for Mark Zuckerberg. So that sucks to say.
Oh, awkward. Yeah, don't tell too many people that. For me, it's like probably like, is the internet an app? Because
No.
You should know.
this is really hard. Okay, I was gonna say Gmail, but actually after thinking about it, I think Safari on iPhone, because I literally like it's burnt into the back of my brain the day I saw an iPhone running a desktop web page. And up until that point, I was being ridiculed because I was making video games on those, the brick phones, the T9 Ericssons and stuff.
Yeah.
I was making like Space Invaders and shit, and people were like, I was like, people are gonna play games on this. It's gonna be fucking huge. And my friends were like, ha ha ha, funny. And then I saw the fucking iPhone, a parallel imported iPhone, it was Safari desktop, and it was just a desktop web page, and it was just soft lines. Oh, so beautiful. Anti-aliasing, and like you tap the button, and I was just like, my finger, it knows where I am. I don't need a mouse cursor, and the touchscreen isn't like flimsy and shit, and it's so beautiful. And so I.
Do you still use an iPhone now?
No, I'm an Android now.
Why did you change?
I feel like Apple hasn't innovated in a long time, and like they're doing incrementally good business, but I just feel like the whole smartphone thing is just slowing down, but there's so much opportunity still left in it. Yeah.
Are you an Apple user?
I am.
Everything?
Literally everything, yeah.
Do you think that at this point it would be really hard to change away from that?
Well, yeah, that's exactly why everything I continue to buy. Also, because when you get a new phone, now you don't even have to like swap it all over. You just turn it on, and it does it for you. And I'm not not tech savvy, but I wouldn't be bothered moving to Android.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I was like my number one thing about moving to Android was like, is it gonna be shit? Because I just do it every couple of years, but it wasn't that bad. And if I can do it, like.
Okay, CTO of a tech company. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
I just heard myself. Shut up, dickhead.
I will be here to call you out when you need it.
Okay, so conversely then, what impact do you think has been the most negative from something digital in your life? Or what's an app that you would take out of your life if you could?
Gmail?
Like Facebook, we were talking about this before, and Facebook, I think not just for our lives, but for like sort of humanity, if you could get rid of an app and like they want to build the metaverse and like own the next generation of the web too. So maybe not so much Facebook, but maybe like if you could remove, I'm not going to say, but yeah, Facebook.
Why,
I was going to say Zuckerberg, but like, no, I don't. I think like he's probably done some good stuff. I don't know.
He's not real. He's a fucking robot. Like, I mean, definitely, I think Facebook has probably gotten too big for its own good. So, yeah, the only reason I haven't deleted Facebook is because a lot of my family use it. Like, and I'm not, It's actually really hard to stay in touch with them otherwise, like, because they don't have landlines anymore. So it's like calling their cell phone, like it's international, it's fuzzy, versus like, being able to share a picture on Facebook and then tag your family or whatever. But yeah.
I'm trying to think of a better answer, like the alarm app, like because I don't want to be woken up. There are definitely some worse apps out there, but I can't think of one right now.
Oh, we got a queue down here.
Oh, we got a question.
What do you guys reckon about TikTok? Because I know it's got quite a lot of controversy around something like that. What do you think it's a good thing? I love TikTok. It has a lot of shit that I'm like, I'm going to contradict myself a million times on the stage tonight. I think it's terrible for like misinformation, disinformation, because so many people will like send me stuff and I'll be like, luckily, I spend like half my life in the news. So I'm like, oh no, like if you add more than 30 seconds to this TikTok, you'll see that there's actually a bit more to the story. So like my head knows it's not good and it's not good for our attention spans. But like 9 p.m. Lucy, who needs to turn their brain off, like because I've got to be up to write the newsletter, is like, just give me 30 minutes on TikTok. So my heart wants it, my head knows it's bad.
Yeah, I think this is like the pertinent question, because it's like saying, which tool from the tool shed would you get rid of? I always draw the analogy of like you can use a hammer to hurt someone, or you can use a hammer to drive a nail. And I feel like social media has so many good benefits and it should be used as a tool. But Hamish Friedlander, our head of engineering, just before this, I was having a conversation with him about what we're going to talk about, and he actually had this fantastic analogy, which is like social media. We've created digital junk food. So like, and right now we're at the stage where we've discovered that this junk food, which tastes fucking delicious, and is like obviously concentrated calories and refined calories, so your body's programmed to fucking love it because evolutionarily you were scraping around for grapes every 3 days or some shit, right? So, like social media, I don't know, grapes.
A
like,
stretch.
I'm obviously
we get what you're saying. No, we do get what you're saying.
Yeah. Thanks, Lucy.
I just zoned out and I zoned back into grapes every few days.
Why did I go with grapes? I don't even like grapes. But like we've created like digital junk food, and what we're about to do is find the fitness craze that comes afterwards, which is like everything in moderation. If you took like a fucking halloumi baby spinach with avocado salad back in time, they would be like, how did you get this food? How is it so fresh? This is incredible. Whereas today, you kind of walk into a cafe and you snuff it. You're just like, kind of feel like a potato rosti and like some eggs and all this high density shit. Like, you know what I mean?
So if we're on this junk food analogy, would you expect that over the coming years that we might see like the mental gym equivalent for digital products? Like people need external help to get off social media? Are we seeing it already?
I was about to say, as you were talking, like with things like cigarettes and alcohol and things that have seemed good in the past that then you realise are actually bad for you, what usually happens is someone comes in and regulates it to make it better for the world. Same with cars. There's a really good piece by my mentor Duncan who wrote about social media and regulation, and he was sort of like, when cars, we figured out they were dangerous, you put seatbelts in them, you make them less dangerous. I feel like what you're saying with social media is we're at the part where we're figuring out that it's dangerous, but we're not quite there with the part where we're going to decide to come and regulate and do something about it. So I forgot your question about the mental gym because I was too busy thinking about my own myself.
No, that's okay. You kind of almost led into the next part of questioning, like you've read my agenda. Because we did get into a really interesting political tangent when we talked on Zoom the other day, and maybe it's hard to start talking about things that affect everybody, like social media, and not go into citizenship. And so, to protect people and just not get sued, we thought it would be worthwhile cutting a lot of that conversation out. But it's the kind of conversation
I'm censored by my own team. That's how bad it is.
But the best thing about it is that this is the type of chat people have with their friends. You take it public, it can get awkward. But I do want to bring it back a little bit to where tech and politics intersect, because we've spoken a lot at work and just in general about the lack of legislation with some technology. Who should be making the rules? Internet bullying and legislation around that. And I can only imagine that someone that has like basically the population of New Zealand following them online, is that also an area for the requirement of legislation? Do you get exposed to personal vitriol from the internet?
I'm quite lucky personally that we made a really conscious decision at the start of this to keep like our personal likeness out of it. But again, if bullying online wasn't a problem and like I felt safe to be in front of this brand that I'm incredibly proud of, then I wouldn't have had to make the conscious decision to not be like put my face out there to the millions of people. But I don't personally feel the bullying. I know it's there, but I don't read the DMs and I don't read, like, I'll moderate the comments at the start of something that I'm nervous to sort of put up to make sure it's like helpful. But I have to be really careful because running Shit You Should Care About relies so heavily on me being happy and me being okay that I can't subject myself to any of that shit. And I'm really lucky because I work with my two best friends who, again, wouldn't let me sit and read comments and like DMs. I read all my email replies. So if you read the daily newsletter and you reply to me, every single one of them gets read. And it's because like there's this thing about smaller communities. Everyone thinks that you want this huge community, but you actually don't. The small ones are the ones that are safe and nice and you love them. Your question about should it be like online bullying be regulated or like at least looked at by the government or by people in charge? Like I'm sure it is looked at and thought about, and I'm sure it should be regulated, but like I feel like, and I don't want to give tech and upcoming tech bros or the people that are building these platforms the benefit of the doubt, but I feel like things are moving so quickly that like it just gets put in the too hard basket. Like, not to bring it back to what you're talking about before, but I think it's really important, and I've just been researching the Buffalo situation, and something like Discord, which is an online chat service that's growing hugely right now, this kid that, again, obviously had something wrong with him, but that committed this awful crime, laid it all out back in January on Discord, something that should have been moderated, should have been regulated, and it's like they were focusing on the real world and treating online as if it wasn't real world. But it's like the fact of the matter is, and we all know, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here because echo chambers, but like he was showing real signs in school of having real issues, and if they just took one step further and looked at his online activity, it could have been solved. So I think, yeah, it obviously should be regulated. And you asked earlier like who it should be on, and it should be on the people, first of all, building these apps and these platforms and things, but it never is properly because they want the money and obviously the engagement. And like on Facebook, if you angry react to something, it will get put to the top of the algorithm because it's enraging, and enragement is engagement, or it was, I don't know if they've changed it, and so should be on the people building it. If not, should be on the governments. If not, it like shouldn't be on us, but sometimes it kind of has to be, and that's hard. But
yeah, I think like who should be responsible for the regulation is a tough one, because like self-regulation works in theory, but eventually you get a Boeing, because
what does that mean?
Oh, so Boeing were self-certifying their planes in the end, and the 737 MAX came down because Boeing self-certified it, and actually what the sales team effectively said, we can't change the design of the plane to the point where we have to retrain all the pilots. So they just created this iPad training video effectively, and they installed some software they made the engineering team build some software that compensated for this wild behavior that the new version of the aircraft had. And actually, because Boeing was so trusted, they self-certified and they said, yep, it's fine. And then they had 2 consecutive crashes within 12 months of each other of a brand new aircraft that killed 650 people, completely unnecessarily. And I think Boeing used to be a trusted brand. Like the saying was, if it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And Wall Street eventually ripped them up. They moved the engineering team out of the main headquarters and away because engineering was putting up too many barriers to reaching milestones and things like that. So when organizations get to a certain scale, this interaction is lost, that my decisions have a consequence on a person. And it's so easy to hide behind annual reports and shareholder this and fucking stock market that. And some of the decisions that lead to the most fundamental problems happen over, like climate change, happen over half a century. So it's very easy to do your 3 years at a company and set some foundation for decision making that you don't think is going to go towards, hey, I just discovered live streaming has incredible engagement. I don't need to think about what happens in 10 years when someone live streams a terrorist attack on it. I'm just going to leave that behind for the rest of the company to figure out.
So if civil aviation has an authority now, do we need a technological authority? I mean, I know you guys do release paperwork. Should there be a layer of ethics to that? Should you be answering questions, not just about tech stuff that I know lots about as a marketing manager? You guys go through a process when you release technology into the world, and should there be a layer of accountability there for ethical choices, like a Hippocratic oath for tech?
Yeah, I think licensing, I think professional licensing in software engineering and digital needs to happen. So if you're a lawyer, there's the bar. If you're a doctor, you have to you need medical licensing, right? I can guarantee you that behavior would have changed at Boeing. Would we have avoided the Max? I don't know. But if you had said, hey, to every engineer that you need a license to write software for this thing, then when management comes down and says, hey, we need you, or even Volkswagen Dieselgate, if management came down and said, hey, we need you to do this slightly dodgy thing, and as an individual you could go, oh, fuck, I could lose my programming license for this. It would create probably enough friction to slow this shit down. Because if you fuck up that bad and your personal accountability for writing EPA dodging car stuff for Volkswagen, or dodgy control software that's masking a problem for Boeing, your individual responsibility confronts you right when you have to make that critical decision. Like, how could this come back to me? Right now, I think companies and organizations probably have a level of protection that's a little bit too far for the kind of consequences they can cause. The idea of a limited liability company, you know, is probably needs to be rethought a little bit, because back in the day we just didn't have, you know, you could run a company, a trading company, and arguably East India Company was fucking, you know, the worst of the lot. But yeah, capitalism needs to, there needs to be some kind of things changed, and I think licensing is a good way to do that. I don't know what you think.
I think it's a great idea. I think, like, even when you're writing something and you're releasing it into the world, like, it goes through an editor. Like, I agree. I feel like there's no barrier in between. And I think maybe that's to do with, like, the technological evolution, because the App Store came up and then everyone was just releasing apps, and no license to make an app, need a license to drive. Not a hot take. Yeah. Great.
But
I love it all.
Lucy, on your side of the coin, I guess, especially with social media, content creation is another completely unregulated part. And maybe over the pandemic, we've at least seen people stepping in with misinformation. Do you ever face any of that with your posts? What's the process you go through when you decide to put something out in the world, especially when you're interpreting the news?
This is something that I think about all the time, and I take it really seriously because I have such a small team. So I've got Liv, who's our creative genius. She does all the design. Ruby does all our partnerships things, and I do all the content, which means every day I have this massive responsibility, which feels like an agenda setting responsibility, or just like a responsibility to be fun, get everything right, and talk about things that, like, one, we really care about, but two, mix in things that actually make us not feel terrible about the world. And in 2020, we faced this really scary but also pivotal moment of, like, we gained about 1 million followers in a month, I think. And I went from having this small, wonderful audience where I was just trying to use words we all use and explain random things every now and again, to, like, people were coming to us to understand the pandemic, to understand the US elections, to understand the New Zealand elections, and to understand the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement. And that was where I was like, I need to learn how to become an editor, because this is not where it is the voice of a random Kiwi in New Zealand to be talking. This is where, like, I have this huge audience, so let me find people on the ground in America marching or doing whatever they needed to do and, like, just lift their voices up. But I feel grateful that I took it so seriously back then, even when it was just like a Instagram thing I did for fun, because then I saw all these other Instagrams pop up, and it's amazing because a lot of them are wonderful activists, and there was the whole, like, celebrities, if you have a platform, you need to use your platform thing. And at the start I was like, that's amazing, if you've got a platform, you should use it. And then I just was like, but I can't trust that everyone on there takes it as seriously as I do. So, like, the only way that I can get up every day and feel okay about setting the news for people, or, like, writing, like, giving people 10 things they should care about today, because who am I really to say that, is that, one, I have, like, a real transaction with the audience. Like, everyone will message me things and I'll be like, damn, I wouldn't have known about that without you. And then I also am, like, I've been doing this for, like, 4 years now, so I'm pretty in tune with the news and where I need to be looking, and so I can also, like, share back. And I feel like me and the audience sort of keep tabs on each other and make sure, like, if I ever get something wrong, the beautiful thing about social media for me is that
You fucking find out.
I will
about it.
get told. And because of who I am as a person, I will immediately be like, oh my God, I did get that so wrong. Delete. Here's the new thing, and here's what I did wrong. And I always get people commenting being like, thank you for telling us what went wrong so that we don't, because it's always, I mean, touch wood, it's always been like little language things that I could have done better. And like, you know, there's that many words in the English language that if one of them that you use offends a group of people or someone, like you can choose another one. You definitely can choose another one, and like you should always just put your pride or whatever it is aside, and like it's better for the world if you just pick a synonym and make everyone feel comfortable. So I think mine is like self-regulation, but also regulation from my audience who are so loud and way smarter than me to be like, Luce, that was not right, but here's what's right. And then I can be like, oh my God, and now I'll teach everyone else what's right. But I can't say the same for every single Instagram account, every single like self-made media brand. I also studied media studies, which makes me, and international relations, so I feel a little bit like I didn't just come at this from nowhere, but I did learn on the way.
Oh, thank you. Not a graceful segue, but I was going to move into the idea of attention. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how to get our attention back and like what's happening and how it's sort of crumbling. And this guy was basically putting forward all these different business models, like alternative business models to social media. So right now, like the advertisers are the customer and we, the users, are the product. Our attention is the product. And it was super powerful, like, to be reminded of that. But they're talking about like alternative business models where the users become the customer, and therefore their well-being or their needs or whatever, then like there's a premium on that. And if we want our attention back and we want to be living these like really rewarding lives, then those companies will have like a monetary incentive to build that into what they're providing. So one of the ideas was a subscription, you know, like we're paying for these things and then suddenly we're the customers. And what absolutely stunned me was that they ran like a bunch of surveys from memory on like some pretty big groups, and what came back was that if given the choice between offering your attention as a form of like currency or your money, people would prefer to keep it as it is. And I was like, whoa, that is not how I feel, and I'm just curious what both of your thoughts are on that.
It doesn't surprise me because, well, okay, it doesn't surprise me for a few reasons, because I know that, like, we are an echo chamber who probably all think, like, I would rather pay for something than give my attention. But also, I can't really afford to. And I think a lot of people are, like, struggling, especially in New Zealand at the moment. And, like, I don't know if we want to go into the economy. We probably shouldn't, because I'm not actually an expert on that. But I'm like, it's still...
And I am.
It's still, like, things for free that make you feel good, which social media does, even though if we really strip it back, it's like, does it? Like, you will opt for overpaying for something that in the long run, you know, will make you feel good. And I think that's I kind of want to know that podcast, because you should tell me after this. The Good Life Project.
So,
yeah.
So let me get this straight. So people would rather give their attention away for free than pay to get for the equivalent so that they get served the right ads. Yeah, we're fucked, aren't we? Like, as a species. It doesn't surprise me. I agree with you. And also, like, yeah. So, again, coming back to regulation, like, regulation creates the sandbox that everyone plays in, right? So capitalism is all about optimizing and being competitive. So if you say there are no rules, that's literally a no rules cage fight. You know, like, it's like fight to the death. Because that's what capitalism is. It's an analogy for the strongest company or organization wins. And so if you have a no-holds-barred death match, you get what you get. You get blood, gore, and all this shit, right? And like what regulation, the responsibility of regulation is to create the sandbox and say, no one is allowed to play there. So you don't have to factor that into your business model because no one can do it. So go fight, you know, go be boxers. You don't have to use your feet, and you don't have to, like, you know, bare knuckle box. And I think the fact that companies have to find a business model that is less attractive than social media right now, it's junk food. and we've got completely unregulated junk food. So like junk food has similar analogies where, you know, it's easier and cheaper and more cost effective for people to buy the lower cost meals, and people are like, oh, why don't you just grow your own vegetables? Well, there's a whole bunch of land right issues with that, right? You got to have an asset and land to be able to do that, and then the investment for the tools and all that shit, right? So it's not so straightforward, and again, why it's so important to like regulate the junk food, regulate the total junk.
I want to draw a bit of a line between regulation and automation, and kind of maybe finish with a chat about AI, because Luce, when you were talking before about selecting different words is so easy, one place I think I'm seeing automation pop up a lot is with content changing, Grammarly. Like you can get a Slack bot that will tell you, instead of using this really like politically incorrect term now, we don't say guys, we say something else. How do you feel about AI starting to change the way that we naturally behave and think as people?
Huge question.
Do you use Grammarly?
I use it, but I have to ignore it a lot because like I choose to write really chaotically, and I have to be like, no, choose your tone of voice over what Grammarly is telling you, Lucy.
Grammarly recommends you swear less.
Recommends you like add only one exclamation point.
Be less assertive.
Couldn't be me. It freaked me out the first time my Gmail it saw my subject line, tried to start writing my email for me, and I was like, no, some things I need to do myself. Like, I definitely need to be. Communication is something that I'm very, like, that is something I don't want automated in my life, because communication for me is my favorite thing to do and the most important, like, human thing for me. But then for a lot of people, like, especially people that have difficulties learning and difficulties reading and writing, it can be amazing. And also, you sent me a video of, like, the Google Translate glasses, and like the idea that one day you could speak to someone. I mean, really, if you were going to their country, learn their language, it's respectful. But it was like a mum who lived there and a son who had lost his native tongue or something, and they were struggling to communicate, and they had these glasses that like brought subtitles up, and I was like, in my head, I was like, is this a good use case, or is this just us getting lazy? And then it's the same thing with AI and automating, like. Everything in our lives shouldn't be really easy. We should have to do things for ourselves, but especially in healthcare and in like learning and things like that, I think it's amazing that we have the option. What do you think?
How do you feel? Because AI is your baby.
Yeah, how much time do we have? You guys got all night?
Have you got another analogy for us?
Do you want one?
No.
What was the original question?
I mean, from Luce's point of view as a content creator, it's interesting that AI now has the ability to take some creativity off your plate,
yes.
but you've got a lot more use cases that come with practical uses of AI and how it could better help people.
Yeah. So this comes down to like, I think about this a lot because it's like AI can make paintings now and like do stuff, and so creativity is not a thing that all the photographers are gonna be out of a job. And I think like human fashion sense, right? Like what's gonna be fashionable. There's definitely a commercial driver to creating fashion items, but like, you know, Yeezys or Nike Air Ones or whatever. That's a social choice. Like everyone kind of just groups together and goes, that's fashionable. Like who would have predicted fucking hipsters? Like, oh, we're gonna go op shopping and like, you know, like like wear clothes incorrectly and
I can't wait to see how this circles back to
like
whatever the question was.
This is fashionable, right? It's because we decided it was fashionable, not because of I think that we decided that it was a trend. And like you draw the analogy between synthetic diamonds and real diamonds, right? Like the synthetic diamond trade was supposed to disrupt the diamond trade, and it has actually probably driven up the value of traditional diamonds, which is kind of gross, but like still. I think if we decide, oh, this is human-created artwork in all of its wonderful imperfections, and this is AI-created artwork, and it's better, but it's made by a computer, and we know that. And I think there's still going to be lots of room for human creativity. And also are humans just evolving into machines? Like, is our next evolution, like, did we just fucking leapfrog? and
You definitely did just
I
then.
did. Woo! The drugs are kicking in.
Just quickly, one thing you mentioned about trends and fashion was really interesting because now trends almost are automated with TikTok. Like the more likes that something gets, like I remember there was a time when I would only eat like the Emily Mariko salmon bowl because it came up on my TikTok so much, and then that was done and something else came up and I was like, I am not even deciding my own thing, like my own dinners anymore. Like I saw this go viral and I wanted to make it. And I feel like trends are getting automated. But what's the point of a trend? Because trends used to be things that everyone liked because they were cool. But now it's like, do I like this because it was cool? Or did I just get fed it 20 times on my For You page? So that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's the commercial driver
Yeah.
aspect of things. Like, I guess the real question is Kanye an AI that's gone wrong? Because like AI, I don't know if you guys know about this, but like AI, you know, it can detect shit at like 97% accuracy. And like when you've got a software bug, traditionally it's like only slightly wrong. The bug is a variation of the functionality. So like in Microsoft Word, if you've got a bug, you might press a key and then like you get an extra character or something, right? Appear. It's something in context of creating a document. But AI is so fucking weird and misunderstood that actually it's like correct 97% of the time. So it's like water bottle, table, water bottle, table, water bottle, hot air balloon. Like it's completely left field in how it gets stuff wrong. And I was like squinting, going, Kanye could be an AI. Like he says some fucking random shit. And I've seen that before. I think it's GPT-3. I think it's the thing that makes like writes your essays for you.
Sorry to step backwards.
Please.
I'm older, so I'm just processing the last 15 minutes ago. Talking about going back to the junk food, because I mean, you know, the AI is all just about feeding. And so we're just looking at consumption of all of this technology that Danu has alluded to. It's pretty low nutrition. It's low nutrition, it's sort of high salt, it's high sugar, so we love it. But it doesn't do too much to benefit, and we get addicted, essentially. So one day we may see, you know, the little nutrition label on the side of the app. What do you think that nutrition label's going to look like? How are we going to measure that?
Average time people use on this app. They should probably survey how people feel once they come off the app, like how they feel when they reach for it.
Percentage daily intake.
Yeah, so like how they feel when they reach for it, and then how they feel when, like, do you feel deflated? Do you feel better after it? I don't know, that were the first two things that came to mind. But that's a great idea, actually.
That's a great idea.
That is a great idea.
You heard it here first, people. Yeah, I think I can't build much more than that. It's got to be approachable, understandable, and like something like a nutrition label is a great idea. Like seriously, you should tweet that.
And low-key, they should write...
At Elon.
They should tell us what their algorithm is like in layman's terms. They should also, on the nutrition thing, it should be like how we put things on your feed. And then if they're forced to do that, it'll be like, oh, okay, so you put the thing that makes me feel the shittest at the top of my feed because you want me to keep, like, hating myself and looking at more ways I can better myself or whatever. So I actually think on that nutrition thing should be, this is how we feed you stuff. This is how we feed you the things on your feed.
This is how much sugar we put in.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like this is a great piece. So if you see this pop up somewhere...
Everyone's running out to claim a patent.
No, that's
So we're kind of at that point. Does anyone else have any other burning questions?
When you were talking about regulation a lot, because to me, like, state regulation sounds like a scary, horrible thing to, like, put into the technology world, but, like, this gentleman there said education. Well, I don't know if he said the word education, but, like, basically education to me seems like a more, like, powerful tool, like, ultimately, rather than someone having to regulate it, to just educate people with those sort of something like, yeah, like a warning label or whatever, like, would be better than, or maybe it's a mix. Like, I feel like education is at least as important as regulation.
Yeah, I think you can't do one without the other. But I also think this is probably why most people struggle to understand why this stuff hasn't been done or why we need it. You have to put yourself in the mindset of someone who's willing to do anything to exploit an opportunity. And that's the protection that regulation offers. So if you're not willing to do if you're not willing to be criminal about, purposefully, intentionally criminal about exploiting a competitive advantage, then we don't need regulation. And of course, education will completely work because everyone's honest and everyone's doing the right thing. But the problem is, there is always going to be an element of society and entrepreneurship where people are going to scam. And if you give them the opportunity to scam and then you don't have the tools to follow through with consequences, that's where, yeah, it starts to erode. And it's what we've seen. Like people like Facebook, you know, the live stream feature, I go back to that thing. They've got like a team of like 3,000 people pulling down grotesque videos from Facebook 24/7. And some of these individuals are low-paid individuals who have suffered permanent PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, from just looking at the sickest shit on the internet because they have to take it off that platform. And Facebook thinks it's okay. And we somehow accept it as that's a normal function of a business. What other business in the world needs that? That isn't like law enforcement. It's traumatizing. And that's where the regulation needs to like paint the lines when someone's like, can I do it? It's not illegal, so it must be okay to do it. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Like education is a big part of that. You can't just have regulation and then just throw the hammer at everybody or the stick every single time, right? Like, and people want to make, in general, people do want to make the right calls, and sometimes they just don't know what they don't think about the final consequence of their actions. So yeah, education, massive component.
I think education is an interesting one because I always say, like, I learnt media literacy at school, which meant that I learned how to corroborate. Like, I knew how to look at a website and go and find that again on another website. And if I saw, like, I learned how to tell apart a tabloidy one from like a non-tabloid one, and that helped me for like the world that was back then. And then now I get a lot of people even asking me, like, how can I teach my media studies class about what's real and what's fake on TikTok and on Instagram and all these new things that they don't even use, a lot of the teachers. And I'm like, I can see why you're struggling, but I can't copy and paste me to come around to all the schools and teach you how to see what's wrong and what's right on TikTok and on Instagram. So I feel like, because I think education, like getting in early, is so important, but I'm like, the kids are the ones that are learning on these apps, and the kids are the ones that almost need to teach each other, but they're all still trying to figure it out as well. So I would love to get in every school and be like, this is how you spot something fake, but I don't know, we might need to form an alliance.
But it's also getting like harder with deep fakes. Like GPT-3, I think GPT-3, this is the language AI. You give it like 5 bullet points and it'll write an essay for you. And it passed the human equivalent of a Turing test or some shit where lecturers who are marking essays for university students couldn't tell the difference between the AI generated one and the not. So imagine putting in Donald Trump using GPT-3 or Elon Musk just like bending the truth a little bit. And
They don't even need it.
Yeah, that's true.
They get away with it anyway.
We've probably got time for one more question if anyone has a burning desire to know something. Otherwise, I'm going to throw one your way. What tech... Okay, do you want the EV question or do you want the tech advancement question? We prepped this. How prepared do you feel?
Just do both.
Tech advance. Okay.
Yeah,
both. That's what I was going to say.
Why not both? Because people have lives to go back to, don't they?
No, they don't.
Okay, this is a short answer question then, and you can't go on a huge rant, like maybe a mini rant.
Danu.
If you could only pick one innovation to commit to for saving the planet, would it be out of EVs or plant-based meat and dairy products?
Because of who I am right now and that I can't afford to buy a car, I'm going to say the easiest thing that I could do to lower my consumption would be drink oat milk and cut back on meat. But I know you have a different answer.
EVs.
Danu loves electric vehicles.
I
go off, yeah.
I think they're going to be the thing that we need. Like there's lots of problems with them in terms of like the carbon cost of making them and all that stuff. But like if you work on a kind of a first principles basis, you think about like ocean plastics, polymers, single-use plastics, climate change, war, like a lot of shit has happened because of our dependence on fossil fuels. And whether we like it or not, the number one use case for fossil fuels is personal transport. And then, well, industrial transport and personal transport, those two things together. So I actually think it's going to change our lives for the better because it will disable that industry. So the more people we can switch to, and actually I think battery EVs are different to hydrogen. I believe in clean hydrogen. The problem I have with clean hydrogen is it's going to give, I feel like it's going to give some of those problematic companies, fuel companies, and the companies that got us into this position, an opportunity to pivot. And what I would love to see is actually those companies disappear from the face of the planet. And I think battery-powered transport is the way to do that, because it completely eliminates fossil fuels from being needed, and it drives up the cost and everything. So I think, yeah, EVs.
Let it be known that I ride an e-bike, so while I can't afford
It's
an
an
EV,
EV.
I'm making the change that I
It's an
can.
electric vehicle.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so e-bike, go off.
I'm not going to point out that a regular bike uses no petrol nor no
Yeah,
battery.
I know, but I live at the bottom of a hill. Let me live.
Okay, so the last question, what technological advancement are you holding out for?
Okay, my one is teleportation, because flights are really long and use heaps of fuel, and it would just be so easy and good, and I can't wait for it.
Mine's boring. It's printers that actually work. Like, we can get a car to self-drive and like a plane to be on autopilot and like a rocket ship that like lands itself on an ocean barge and travels to Mars. But have you ever tried to get a fucking Wi-Fi printer to work? Oh my God.
That brings us to the end. That was a roller coaster of a conversation, and as you guys must realize, like, this could have gone in a million different tangents, and I don't know, I feel like somehow I want to keep it going. How that happens, I don't know, but yeah, thank you guys. It's been amazing. Wow.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh.